Welcome back to the Jason Goldberg is Ruining Podcasting podcast. I am Jason Goldberg. Although recently people have been DMing me and telling me they think I look like a young Rick Moranis, the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Those people have all since been blocked on my Instagram, and I have signed them up for every email list I could think of, especially the ones for special blue pills from Mexican pharmacies. So the moral of the story is, do not get on my bad side. Okay, moving on. On today's show, I am really excited because what we're going to ruin is specialness. Specialness. No, but wait, JG. No, I am special. My mom or my teacher or my shaman or a bumper sticker on a 1997 Prius told me I was special. Now, don't get me wrong. You are special, just not in the way you probably think. See, I would actually swap out the word miracle with the word special because, like I wrote about in my book, Prison Break, the probability of you being who you are, born where you were born, to the parents that you have, and living the life that you're living right now is literally 1 in 400 trillion. 1 in 400 trillion. And if you want to put it a different way, there was a guy called Dr. Ali Benazir, and he had done a study on this or kind of did some statistics on this. And basically he said this: imagine there was one life preserver that was thrown somewhere in some ocean with exactly one turtle that's in all of these oceans that's swimming underwater somewhere. The probability that you came out the way you did is the same as that turtle sticking its head out of the water and into the middle of the life preserver on one try. So yes, in that sense, you are totally special. But the type of special that I'm talking about and that we're going to ruin today is the one where you think there are certain ways of being or certain things you want to create or certain possibilities that are reserved for a particular kind of person. That there are special people with special personalities or special advantages that you don't have access to. And you allow that to stop you from stepping out and stepping up in life. And it's totally innocent. It's not that you don't want to stretch yourself. It's not like you like feeling like what you want is out of reach. And I'm guessing that once in a while, you may even accidentally get this feeling of like, oh, shit, maybe I can do this thing that I want to do. But it doesn't take long for the well-intentioned Jewish mother level protective ego inside of us to talk us out of that insane moment of truth and clarity that we have that says we can actually do the thing. And guys, listen, I'm not immune to this. This has happened to me tons of times in my life. Really, anytime I'm creating something new, and especially if it's something I really care about, even this show, this podcast, I don't know about you, I get super excited about an idea, about what's possible. Sometimes I can even totally visualize what I would be feeling and seeing from creating this thing that has me so lit up, and I get lit up about it. But then inevitably something happens, and it's usually without warning, and it stops me dead in my tracks, and it has me double back into my little comfy cocoon, and I'm done. I have no more motivation to do the thing. I'm done. See, as humans, we are historically afraid of new ideas. We can feel threatened by the unknown, and our minds will go into overdrive to protect us from that unknown. And those ideas that scare us, those ideas can be social, they can be political. We've seen a lot of that. They can be technological, or the ones that are the most debilitating of them all are the ideas and the voices that come from inside of our own heads.
Leave me alone! Jill, this is Sergeant Sacker. Listen to me. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Our squad cars are on the way over there right now. Just get out of that house.
And I know you know what this feels like. An idea hits during a shower or an ayahuasca journey, or while you're watching some mindless TV show like Tiger King, which kind of feels like you're on an ayahuasca journey. And when that happens, you're in what I call the wow, right? You feel energized, you're buzzing, you feel scare-sighted, which is that special kind of scare that's anchored more in excitement than it is in fear. And you might tell a close friend, or you might journal until your hand cramps up because you're so excited. Or if you're like me, you hit up GoDaddy to see if the URL is still available for whatever it is you want to build. But before you know it, something happens. And your mind starts to shift. Your energy starts to shift from the wow into the how. How the hell am I ever going to make that happen? How will I put it together? How will I figure out the way to make it successful? Blah, 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 blah. It's all about the how. And that's where it starts to go downhill. Because here, listen, if we've never done the thing before that we're looking to do, and we don't have a frame of reference for what we're trying to create, and probably hardest of all, we don't trust ourselves to move forward without having perfect information and a bulletproof game plan, then our big vision ends up becoming a big weight. It takes us from inspired to act to expired and flat. Oh shit, that was a good one. Write that down. So I want you to think about that. Think about some wow to how moments that you've experienced, maybe in the last few days or the last few weeks or the last few months, or maybe you even have some of these wow to how things that have been stalking you for years. It could be a side hustle that you want to start. It could be a promotion that you want to go for at your job. It could be a person you want to ask out at a date. It could be some kind of education or training that you'd love to invest in and immerse yourself in. I'd love for you to take a minute now if you can, and feel free to pause the show and really anchor back into the wow for the thing that came up for you. Like if you didn't need to know how to do it, like if you could just automatically snap your fingers and it would just be so, how would you feel? What would you be doing? What do you see? How is your life different than it is now while you're focusing too much on the how? How do you feel about yourself and your abilities seeing this thing having come to fruition? Now, I'm going to give you a second to pause, and I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to make like a really crazy face so it reminds you to kind of not take the exercise too seriously. So we're going to pause now. I'm going to make a face for you. Okay, you ready? You ready? Okay, great. So you did the exercise, right? And we're back? Awesome. You did a great job. I'm so proud of you, especially you in the blue shirt. I did not expect your visualization to include twerking, but you owned it. Well done, sir. Well done. Now, maybe you were only able to stay in the wow for 5 seconds, or maybe a full minute, or maybe you're still in the wow right now, which means you probably never came back to finish the episode, which makes me sad. But I'll get over it because it's not about me. I will get over it. Do not worry about me. I have a therapy appointment in an hour. Either way, whether it was 5 seconds or a minute or whatever it is, you prove to yourself that you do have access to that wow state, even if only for a few seconds. And that is going to be the gateway for you to start taking intentional and purposeful action, because in the wow, your quote specialness doesn't even occur to you as something that you need to evaluate. You don't have the time or the energy to think about it or to think about if you're special, because you're being pulled by your vision. So I don't want this to be conceptual. I want you to really, really think about this with me. So let's talk about how to leverage that wow feeling to get you into action and momentum. And for that guidance, to really get you into momentum, we turn to the human female uterus. And if that's not the segue of the century, I don't know what is. Bruh. So why the uterus, you may be asking, and if you're not asking, you absolutely should be. And it's because an interesting thing happened when steam-powered locomotives first came onto the scene in the 1900s. Because never before had everyday humans, like me and you, been able to experience the speed and the velocity of a vehicle like that. And it became a real fear. I am not kidding with you. You can look this up. It became a real fear that women's bodies were not designed to go 50 plus miles per hour. And there was a belief that if they did, their uteruses would literally fly out of their bodies. I don't know if uteruses is the plural for uterus. Is it uteri? I don't know. Either way. But literally that their uterus would fly out of their body. I mean, just look at this picture. And if you're not watching the video version of this, you're missing out. But if you look at this picture, it's like this poor, terrified mother with her super needy little kid. And she's saying to him, calm down, Billy. If you ever want mama to give you another brother or sister, I can't even look at that train when it speeds by. My effing uterus might be sucked out of my body. Now, to anyone hearing this and thinking that it sounds insane, that's because it is. But if we are relying on what we haven't done before to dictate what might be possible, if we're allowing the calls from inside the house, right, inside the house, to talk us out of doing what we feel called to do, then we are no less insane. The only difference is that our insanity doesn't seem to have a link to the forcible removal of our reproductive organs. And here's the funny thing, it didn't just stop at trains either. In the 1900s, when cars started picking up popularity, women were, again, believed to be too weak to drive, that they would be prone to fainting and out of the blue bouts of hysteria. Yes, this is all real, I promise. And it wasn't until 1909 when a 22-year-old woman who was called Alice Ramsey drove cross-country with 3 of her female friends for 59 days and, wait for it, survived without a single episode of fainting or hysteria. Who knew? Oh, I know. Every single woman knew. But Alice Ramsey was not special. She didn't have a full body protective shell. She didn't have a bionic uterus. She just had an approach that allowed her to get over any of the fears or limiting beliefs that she may have had around this big, scary new thing that she was going to be doing. And my guess, and I can't know this to be sure, but my guess is there may have been even more of a focus on being of service so other women could have the right to drive. And it was probably more important to her to do that than it was to prove how special that she was. So with that in mind, I want you to create a little action plan for yourself and for whatever wow you are looking to create in the world. And to do that, let's look at what Alice Ramsey did to have that level of courage. Okay, number 1, community is crucial. Now, I don't know what the conversation looked like between Alice and her homegirls to get them to go out on this crazy, scary adventure with her. And maybe they believed there was a chance that these crazy, insane beliefs could be true. And so going together allowed them to have like a contingency plan in case one of them did become hysterical. But either way, she obviously only told and involved people that would have her back and even be her ride or dies, literally in this case. Creating something new is scary enough. So trying to isolate while we're doing it is a great way for the little baby assassin in our heads, as I write about in Prison Break, to shift us from the wow to the how in a way that just doesn't serve us. See, you want to find or create a support structure around you, friends, mentors, coaches, whatever. Enroll people who want you to win into your vision. And you'd be surprised at how many will not only give you the moral support and have your back, but they might also give you guidance and logistical support as well. All right, number 2, and this one everybody knows, WWEMOEGOAEOOWD, or what would Elon Musk or Elizabeth Gilbert or Albert Einstein or Oprah Winfrey do? Of course, everybody knows that acronym. Or more specifically, more actionably, how might they approach this thing, this challenge? How might they make this idea a reality? And it doesn't have to be one of those people. Think about someone who inspires you, who you feel has the qualities of a leader, of a creator, of a human that you think are required to do the thing that you want to do. So first you want to figure out what those qualities are. Maybe they're creativity. It's the ability to connect deeply with people, resilience, adaptability, enthusiasm, presence, patience, innovation, simplification, any other Asians, or anything else you really admire and you wish you had more access to yourself. Then ask yourself, if this person was on my advisory board and they were totally bought into whatever it is that I want to create, how might they approach making this thing a real thing? What kind of advice or ideas might they share with me that I'd be excited to try? Now, there's one small caveat on this exercise. If you really want to get the benefit from doing this, then don't do the thing where you come up with the excuses about, well, if I was Elon Musk, I'd have billions of dollars available to me, or a huge profile they have, or whatever else you think they have, because there was a time they didn't have those things. The values, the qualities, the ways they think, and the ways they see the world are what you want to tap into. You want to tap into their resourcefulness, not their resources. And this can even be a fun game to role play with the people that you pick to support you from tip number 1, from the community is crucial part. Either have them or yourself play the role of the leader you picked and talk to them as if they are that person. Ask them the questions you would actually ask them if you got them on the phone or had them in the room. Or if you want to play that person that you picked, come up with a list of questions to give to a friend to ask you, and then you really anchor into coming from the place that your advisor would be coming from and ask the questions. And more than anything, have fun with it. I mean, if you're not having fun with it, you're probably doing it wrong. And number 3, create a plan that is more puppy crate than it is toothpaste tube. Now, I know it probably sounds like I need to either double my dose on my meds or wean myself off of them, but let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of times when we are creating something new, especially something we've never done before, we have no frame of reference, we're not sure if it'll work, we're going from the wow to the how, it can feel a lot of times like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. Because if you squeeze toothpaste out of a tube, no matter how hard you try, no matter how many tiny spoons or toothpicks you get, there's no way you're getting that toothpaste back in the tube. You can try to smush it against the opening and all that stuff. It's just going to get messy and disgusting. There's really no way to get the toothpaste back in the tube. And that's how we approach creativity sometimes. That we're going to put something out in the world, and then when we do, there is no way back from it. We are screwed. We have burned our boats. The toothpaste is out of the tube, and we can never, ever, ever turn around. But I want to give you a distinction. I want to give you another way to look at this. Because if your endeavor into creativity and doing something you've never done before could feel like it's toothpaste coming out of a tube, the other way to look at this is pretend you are thinking about a puppy and a puppy crate. Now, puppies, when you first get them, and if you've ever had the luxury or the joy of having a brand new puppy, besides the fact that they literally ruin everything that you value in the material world, they are so adorable. They give you so much love, and they are, for the most part, pretty terrified of life in a lot of ways, or at least the puppies I've had. Hopefully I wasn't projecting. And if you think about a puppy that's in a crate, it feels really safe and at home in the crate. And sometimes coming out of the crate can feel kind of scary. They're not sure what's going on in the outside world, especially when you bring them home for the first time. But here's the beautiful thing about a puppy and a crate. If the puppy does venture out into the world, a world that they've never seen before, a world they've never experienced, and a world that can be kind of terrifying, but maybe a little exciting at the same time, and something doesn't go exactly according to plan, or something doesn't really work out the way you want it to, they can always run back into the puppy crate. It's not like the toothpaste tube. There is no irreversible action you can take when you're in the mode of creation, when you're living in the wow, when you're really feeling into the purpose of the thing you want to create, why it lights you up, and the difference that it can make in the world. So when you're creating a plan for yourself and how you're putting yourself out in the world, remember, whatever you're creating is much more puppy crate than it is toothpaste tube. Listen, I know I was screwing around in the beginning talking about specialness, but there is a lot that is special about you. And I'm not even just talking about the special I talked about in the beginning with the probability of who you are and you being who you are, but I mean in the actual life that you have lived. Now, it's normal, we hear it all the time, and I'm sure I've done it too, to downplay or discount what you've been through, your challenges, your accomplishments, the ways you've grown and evolved. The things that come easy and natural to you that you think are probably easy and natural for everybody, but newsflash, they aren't. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to downplay and discount. And that is absolutely one way to look at the entire history of your life and how you became the human you are today, and doubting whether or not any of that would actually be helpful for anyone else. That's one way to live for sure. But it's likely also the way that's going to keep you thinking that your proverbial uterus is going to fly out of your body if you travel more than 50 miles per hour on a train. The alternative here is to depersonalize the entire process of creation, to set up the people, the plans, and the possibilities around you that take the focus off of trying to convince yourself of your worthiness, and instead to get you into willingness. The willingness to experiment, the willingness to share your work, to share your art, to share your heart, the willingness to make a real impact for people in whatever way you feel called to do, and a willingness to not have any of it define you or your place in this world, whether it works the way you want it to or not. I invite you to play with all this today. I want you to take it from information to application, and let me know how you go. All right, so that's our show for today. Thank you so much for being with us. If you love this episode, I'd love for you to screenshot it on whatever platform you're listening to it on or watching it on. Throw it up on IG, to put it in your stories, tag me in it so I can send you some love. Give us a 5-star rating and a review if you love it. DM me with any feedback or anything that you would love for me to ruin. And let's keep this party going each and every week. I am so grateful to all of you for being here. I love you a ton, and I'll see you next time. Much love. Peace.